إن الحمد لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا أما بعد. Respected listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Once again, the brothers, they asked me to come down so we can go through some basic talk about the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and benefit myself and hopefully we'll all benefit something inshaAllah ta'ala. Once again, Jazakumullahu khaira, and congratulations to the Masjid for paying off the building and mashallah becoming independent, and for the work that they're doing. As you know, we in Leicester, Markaz al-Sunnah, we're in the same struggle that you guys are in, and we have Masjid Quba where our work is the same like you guys, but we're not fortunate enough to have a masjid that we own. So may Allah bless you. And I pray that, inshallah ta'ala, Allah accepts your efforts and makes your masjid a means and a center for the da'wah of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Previously, every time I've come, we've spoken about topics such as at-Tawfeeq and shirk, etc. And we've clarified the types and the definitions of them and these essential elements of the deen. Today, we're going to discuss something slightly different, something which every Muslim requires to be reminded of every now and again. And I've compiled some notes on this topic in the hope that we can look at what Allah Azza wa Jal and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have said about this topic, in the hope that we can become wise to some of the pitfalls which a Muslim may fall into, so that in the hope that we do not fall into them. This topic, ya ikhwan, is the deception of Shaytaan. And Shaytaan, as we know, is the enemy of mankind. Aduwwun mubin, as Allah Azza wa Jal describes him in Surah Yasin and other places. A clear enemy. He's a clear enemy. There is no doubt and discussion as to the enmity of Shaytaan for mankind. There is no doubt on this. Shaytaan is the sworn enemy of mankind. If a person wishes to be successful in anything that they do, then naturally they need to know their enemy. They need to know their enemy. The enmity of Shaytaan, it began with the beginning of creation. It began with the beginning of mankind. When Allah Azza wa Jal created the Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, this was the beginning of Shaytaan's deception and the war which Shaytaan has waged against mankind. And even on an individual basis, the enmity of Shaytaan to every individual human being begins when? Not when he starts school and starts learning or starts to learn how to pray or starts to learn about the deen. Not when he becomes mature and the obligations of the deen fall upon him, but rather right from the second the person's born. From the second that that individual is born into this world, the Shaytaan has begun his work. It comes in the hadith of Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, the Shaytaan pokes or he pricks every single son of Adam. Every single son of Adam at the time when he is born, except for who? Isa ibn Maryam. He was the only one who Allah Azza wa Jal, he saved him from this pitfall. So he pricks the baby. And in another narration of the hadith in Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that this is the reason for the crying of the baby. This is the reason for the crying of the baby. That the Shaytaan has pricked him from day one. So you are not safe. From the very moment you're born into this world, you are not safe from the deceptions of Shaytaan. As a baby, He can just prick you to make you cry. But when you grow up and you become an intelligent, thinking human being, then just pricking you is not enough, ya ikhwan. He needs to now go to much further lengths to deceive you in every area of your life. As a mercy to mankind, Allah Azza wa Jal said many things about Shaytaan in the Quran. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he has mentioned the Shaytaan many times in the ahadith, so that we can ponder upon these narrations and these ayat and learn from them and become wise to them. And so that we have a chance of not falling in to the pitfalls which those who do not refer to the Quran and the Sunnah, they will fall into, as the kuffar have fallen into and are susceptible to. And those Muslims who do not ponder upon what Allah Azza wa Jalla and what the Prophet ﷺ have said about the Shaytaan, what they will be susceptible to falling into. There is much said with regards to Shaytaan and his deception, too much for us to go through in one small gathering like this. So I've made a note of about 7 or 8 major ways that the Shaytaan deceives the human beings, and that all of us are, there's a possibility for us to fall victim to, so that we can at least cover the main topics and see what Allah Azza wa Jal has said about them and learn from this. Before that though, just to share one hadith with you, or the translation to the nearest meaning of a hadith in An-Nisa'i, where the Prophet ﷺ, he clarifies what Shaytaan's work and what his efforts have been, and the way that he does things. He says that the Shaytaan, he sat in ambush, waiting. When a person sits in ambush, what do? It's waiting calmly, but waiting to pounce. The Shaytaan, he sits in ambush, waiting to pounce for every son of Adam in all of his ways. First of all, he sat in the path of al-Islam. And he says to the human being that how can you become a Muslim and leave this great religion of your forefathers? Will you leave this beautiful religion of your forefathers and become a Muslim? Why do you want to do a thing like this? But the son of Adam, what does he do? He disobeys the Shaytaan and he becomes a Muslim. He becomes a Muslim. So after that, the Shaytaan, he sits in the path of al-Hijrah, emigration. He sits in that path and he says to the Muslim, how will you leave this beautiful land of yours and the sky that you look at, the sky that you love above the land that you love? How will you leave this land? The migrant is just a horse tied to a rope. Meaning, do you really want to go and be one of those guys that goes there and he's not really from that land and he's just like a traveler without any home, away from his people, away from his homeland? Do you want to be like that? Putting fear into this person, this Muslim who wants to do a good deed. And the son of Adam, what does he do? Alhamdulillah, if Allah has mercy on him, then he emigrates and he disobeys the Shaytaan. After this, the Shaytaan, he sat in the path of al-Jihad. He says to the Muslim that, do you really want to go and die for this cause? How can you fight and be killed when you're married and you've got wealth and you've got health and you've got this great life that you can live if you're not killed? But the son of Adam, what does he do? He disobeys the Shaytaan and he performs jihad. And those, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that, and those who know that this is a duty on them from Allah and they want paradise, then they will disobey the Shaytaan and they will perform their good deed. So the enemy is lying in every path, ya ikhwan. Every single path. Every path to every good deed, every path to salvation, then we should know that the Shaytaan, he is lying in that path. How does he do this? What are the main deceptions that the Shaytaan performs on the sons of Adam to deceive them? How does he go about doing this? Allah Azza wa Jal, he says, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. The first thing. The first deception or the first disobedience of the Shaytaan, it was this thing here. That when Allah Azza wa Jal, He says that when we said to the angels that all of you prostrate to Adam. All of you prostrate to Adam. Then they all prostrated except for Iblis. He refused, he was arrogant, and he became from the disbelievers. He refused, he was arrogant, and he became from the disbelievers. So the first of the deceptions of Shaytaan, its roots are what? Arrogance. Arrogance, ya ikhwan. This is the first of the deceptions of Shaytaan. Why? Because arrogance is the mother of many, many sins. It is not a sin on its own. Khalas, he was arrogant. Khalas. No. His arrogance led him to what? The arrogance of a person leads them to what? In Shaytaan's case, refusing the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. Refusing the command of Allah Azza wa Jal because of arrogance. Because of arrogance. Refusing His command, which could be any command in our case. Allah Azza wa Jal, He commands us to anything. Based on our arrogance, we know better. I'm too good for that. Then we don't perform it, we don't do it, we fail. The leaving of salah, Shaytaan, Iblis, he was commanded to prostrate, and he did not prostrate when Allah wanted him to prostrate. Then why are the masajid today empty? Why are they empty? People are okay, I'm doing all right. I don't need to worry. I've got my business, got my job, got a friend circle. You know, I'm doing all right. I don't really need to put my head on the floor and beg Allah and ask from Allah and show gratitude to Allah. You don't need that. You fail. And he became from the disbelievers as a result of his arrogance. He became from the disbelievers as a result of his arrogance. كَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. He became from the disbelievers. Your arrogance, if it is not tamed, it will lead a person to disbelief. Arrogance is one of the causes of disbelief. And for anyone that's spoken to a kafir, meaning a staunchly believing kafir, an atheist, then you will see arrogance. You will see arrogance in them as one of the major causes of their disbelief. Because they think, why do I need to worry about who's up there in the heavens? Why do I need to worry about somebody else's law? I'm intelligent enough to think for myself about how to live. So this arrogance, it will lead a person to disbelief eventually. And arrogance, ya ikhwan, also leads a person to many other sins, more minor sins than these also. And there are many. Of them is greed. The scholars say that of the causes of greed is arrogance. Because you believe that you're so great that you deserve more than the next man. You deserve more than the next man. You deserve more than the meager amount that you maybe have. No, I need more. I need more. I'm somebody. I need more. That arrogance will cause sin upon sin. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, Shaytaan was the cause of Adam falling victim to their desires in the pursuit of lengthy hopes. In the pursuit of lengthy hopes. Because an individual does not tame their desire, they want things, even if it's an unrealistic and a lengthy goal, they will follow their desires to get it. And Shaytaan is in that path calling you continuously to follow your desires and putting desires in your face. فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانِ. So the Shaytaan, he whispered to them. He whispered to them. Why did he whisper to them? To tell them, don't listen to Allah Azza wa Jal. The only reason He has prohibited you from eating from this desirous tree that you want is because it may be the case that you can become angels and you can have lengthy life. وقال ما نهاكما ربكما عن هذه الشجرة إلا أن تكونا ملكين أو تكونا من الخالدين. He said, the only reason that your Lord prohibited you from this tree is that you may become two angels, or that you may become from those who reside in the Jannah forever. Min al-Khalidin, those who reside here forever. So in pursuit of lengthy hopes, Adam, who was a Nabi of Allah, was not free from these whisperings of Shaytaan, and Adam and his spouse, they gave in and they fell victim to this lengthy hope and this desire that Allah Azza wa Jal had tested them with, and that the Shaytaan had lured them into. So in our lengthy hopes and in our pursuit of desire, the Shaytaan, he will be there calling us at every path. And that's why, ya ikhwan, that if we desire something, if we feel that we want something, we want to be something, we want to do something, or we want to own something, we should request from our own mind a review of our niyyah. What is in this? What is in this? Because usually, when the human being, he desires and he wants something, there is usually, when there is that much ease and that much satisfaction in something, then there is usually pitfalls on the way, at least. The third thing is ghulu. Ghulu in individuals. Going to extremes in our love and our praise and our desire to be close to individuals. The Shaytaan, since the beginning of mankind, has used this as a trap to lure mankind into all sorts of religious pitfalls. The hadith in Bukhari, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said, there were formerly pious men of the people of Nuh alayhi salatu salam. The people of Nuh alayhi salatu salam, they had pious people amongst them. The Shaytaan was the one who whispered into their hearts, extolling the praises of these individuals who were genuine pious people. And as time went on, the Shaytaan whispered to them and he encouraged them to erect pictures and statues of these pious people with their names present, so that the people would go to these statues and seek aid and seek blessings from them. And eventually the people would go and they would worship these statues. They would worship these statues. The hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. It's narrated from Ibn Abbas. It is a narration of Ibn Abbas, not the Prophet alayhi salatu salam. The first shirk on the face of this earth was at the time of Nuh alayhi salatu salam. Adam alayhi salatu salam was on the earth with Tawheed. And as time continued, the people, as a result of these whisperings of Shaytaan, began to love their holy people, their knowledgeable and their pious people, to such a degree that they would go and they would erect statues of them and seek blessings at those statues. And as time went on, fathers used to do something slightly less. Maybe they would go seek a bit of blessings, make some dua. The sons, they used to see this and understand that they're worshipping these idols. They're worshipping these idols. So they would go and they would forget the fact that help is coming from Allah Azza wa Jal, but they would seek help directly from the statues. And this is how shirk came about on the earth. And it was to this nation that Nuh alayhi salatu salam was sent. So, if you ponder, ya ikhwan, the Shaytaan brought about the first shirk on the earth based on ghulu, going to extremes, having extremism in our love for personalities and individuals. And ya ikhwan, is that not the case today all over the world? That the Shaytaan is tricking even the Muslims into thinking so highly of their shaykhs and their saints and their peers. They are seeking help from them and making dua to them and making tawaf around their graves, and calling upon the dead in their graves. Shaytaan is whispering to these people and calling them to this shirk. Even though the Muslim with a sound mind, he knows that this is wrong, this is haram, this is shirk. But he continues to do it because the shaitan is cleverly deceiving the person. Cleverly deceiving the person. So if we are awake to the fact that when we get that thought about an individual that, maybe I should go and, humble myself in front of this individual. If we're wise to that thought, that no, don't forget that in everything shaitan is whispering to me. Shaitan is calling me towards something. Let me refer back to the clear text of the Quran and the Sunnah rather than listening to these desires which are coming in my mind and heart. Then we will be saved from these kind of things. The fourth thing, which is deduced as one of the major deceptions of the shaitan from the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, is magic. The shaitan lures people into magic and actions related to magic. The Quran is full of speech about the deceptions of the shaitan. And one of those things which is striking is that shaitan has been the cause of magic in many nations. The cause of the bringing of magic in many nations. In the time of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wassalam, there was a big spread in the shayateen. And who are the shayateen? They are the tribe and the students and the army of a shaitan. They are jinn who wreak havoc in this earth upon the command of shaitan. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. And follow, keep up with that which the devils, the shayateen, they recited upon the kingdom of Sulaiman. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. And Sulaiman, he did not disbelieve. However, the shayateen, they disbelieved. They disbelieved, teaching mankind as-sihr, magic. They were the ones who disbelieved. And the story continues about Harut and Marut and how 2 angels were sent by Allah Azza wa Jal as a test to mankind, saying to mankind that if you want to come and learn magic from us, then know that first and foremost, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. That indeed we are only a fitna to you, we are only a test to you, so do not disbelieve. Do not disbelieve. But the shayateen, they spread this knowledge around, telling people that no, it's okay, it's a good thing, it's a good thing, it's a good thing. And they would teach that which separates man from wife and would separate people, wreaking havoc. And from this verse we clearly see that magic is kufr. Allah clearly says the shayateen disbelieved by teaching people magic. By teaching people magic. And so the shaitan, because he knows that mankind are always desiring to do something more, never happy with just cause and effect, normal things, always wanting to achieve something supernatural and something more. He whispers to individuals, why don't you go and learn this? Learn how to write ta'weez. Learn how to write ta'weez. Learn how to perform magic tricks so that you can impress the people and so that you can perform things. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Look at all these people over here making dua and waiting years and years and years, just making dua, and Allah is not answering their dua. Don't be like these foolish people. Learn magic, learn to do it yourself. And wallahi ya ikhwan, this is a problem. This is not a far off thing. And I'm sure in Coventry, just like Leicester, there are magicians. No. In Leicester we get cards through our door. Mr. Fulan and Mr. Fulan and Dr. Ye and Dr. Vo. And he can perform this for you, jadoo and this and that. And he can cure your marriage problems, and he can cure your health problems, and he can cure your financial problems. Wallahi, some of them, they say things like, they can read your future, and they can change your, wallahi, some of them, they say, we can change your look. Change your look. And they have Muslim names. And they say, we're Muslims. They say, we're Muslims. And they pray salah. And this is a real thing. This is a real thing. And wallahi, ya ikhwan, I can almost guarantee that everybody here, if they haven't themselves, knows somebody who has been affected by one of these individuals. Meaning, either some evil magic has come upon that person, they've been affected, or they've gone and they've paid money to these individuals and been scammed by them, or something of that nature. It is a rife thing. It is commonly known. This is a problem in our community. And if we don't speak out about it, and if we don't expose this magic and the people of magic and say that the root of this is from where? Shaytaan. It is Shaytaan from two angles. Firstly, that he is the one who spreads. It's his army who go out and teach and spread this magic. And secondly, that the individuals who perform it and get into it, and the individuals that go to them, they are individuals who are doing so based on the whisperings of Shaytaan, wanting more than just being a normal Muslim and making dua and waiting and having sabr and being patient and believing in the qadr of Allah and being happy with the rida, with the qada of Allah, having rida with the qada of Allah, having pleasure and satisfaction and patience with Allah's will. No, not happy. I don't have the patience for that. Need to go and do something more. Speed this process up a little bit. Go to Mr. They have names like Mr. Wahab and Mr. Rahman, and they can change my luck. Ma hada wallah. So its roots are from Shaytaan, and we need to be aware of this. We need to be aware of this. And we need to go and look at what the scholars say about magic and how magic is defined. How magic is defined. Because this is something which has been defined by the scholars dating all the way back, even the Salaf. And there are different definitions of it, and now's not the time to go into it. But the point is that when the scholars of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah are saying, and as they do, that even these tables with the lines and the numbers, this is a form of magic. This is an ancient form of magic. This is what they used to do, the magicians of old. They would write tables and write numbers, and with those numbers, they were able to perform certain tricks or certain feats. But we know, unfortunately, that, especially in many of our communities, that you'll struggle to find a house which doesn't have one hanging on the wall. And I know that in Coventry, that's common as well. And it's common in Leicester and all over the world. Ta'weez hanging on the wall. And you ask, Auntie, what is this? And she says, well, it's for protection, and it's for this, and it's for that. And who says? Who told you this is for protection? Because there is no single ayah, and there is no single hadith. There is no single fabricated hadith to show that this is some form of protection or something like this. Writing noughts and crosses. This is from the Shaytaan. This is from the works of Shaytaan, the tricks of Shaytaan. And what's even more sad about it, ya ikhwan, what's even more sad about this use of magic and such things, is that we don't even need to turn to these things. People haven't even turned to what they already have. We already have the Sunnah. The Sunnah is sufficient. Wallah, it's sufficient for us. There's a dua for leaving the house, which is sahih. And there are fada'il. There are virtues narrated about it. There is a dua and there are adab of entering the house and entering the bathroom and leaving the bathroom and eating food and after eating food and all of these things. And in all of this, wallahi, is a cure and a protection and a means of reward and goodness and health, spiritually and physically, for the family. Wallahi, just saying salam, the same households that have these things hanging above their doors, and every member of the household is, I have a relative myself. May Allah cure him, he's ill. He's ill. And he's been ill for many years as an elder from the Gujarati community. And he's a relative of mine. And, I went to his house and he's got ta'weez strapped to every part of his body. On his head. Strapped around his head. Ta'weez. 2, 3 of them. So I came and he says, Shaykh, you know Arabic, don't you? Recite something on me. I said, no, really, it's okay. Bring a real sheikh for that, I'm all right. No, recite something on me. And I recited on him. And you know why I recited on him? Because I thought to myself that, you know what? This is my opportunity to tell him that the sunnah says, you want to cure yourself and protect yourself and all of this, then turn to the Quran. Everybody knows Surah Al-Falaq, Wal-Nas, Ayatul Kursi, Fatiha. Turn to this. And so I said this to it, but it's in one ear and out the other. In one ta'weed and out the other ta'weed. Don't listen. Allah help us. But my point is that this magic which is amongst us it has its roots in the Shaytaan, and we need to be aware of it. The next thing which stands out from the Quran and Sunnah with regards to the deceptions of Shaytaan, ya ikhwan, is that he makes mankind fear that which they do not need to fear. And through this fear, he holds them back. Just like the hadith we said at the start in the hadith of Nisa'i, where the Prophet ﷺ says that he sits in all of the paths of good deeds. He sits in the path of emigration. He says, do you really want to do that? And the wording is that the emigrants, he is like a horse tied to a tree. Making you fear. Do you want to be like that? That if today I go and make hijrah to Yemen, no Tesco around the corner, I don't know. It's fear. I don't want to be that horse tied to a tree without no home and without no friends and family and without that stability. He placed fear in you. Even though Allah Azza wa Jal has promised you that His land will be vast and His provision is vast. And you know His provision is promised. There's nothing to fear. But He'll make you fear. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء. That the shaitan, he promises you poverty. He promises you poverty, or he threatens you with the promise of poverty, and he commands you to doing fahsha, evil, disgusting things. وَاللَّهُ يَعِدُكُمْ مَغْفِرَةً مِّنْهُ وَفَضْلًا. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He promises you forgiveness and virtue and blessing from Himself. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. At the end of all of these ayats, when Allah will say something and then He'll say, Wallahu ghafurur rahim, or ghafurur rahim, or Allah is all-seeing, all-knowing, or Allah is... There's relevance to this. And if you read the tafsir, ya ikhwan, if you read the tafsir, that why does Allah Azza wa Jal choose which names to give Himself at the end of which ayat, there's a relevance to it. Look here. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, the shaitan, he threatens you with a promise of poverty. Are we not scared of poverty? Oh, if I lose my job. Your job's haram, but you will not leave it. Why? Because I'm scared of being poor. I don't know what's going to happen to me and my family. But you know Allah Azza wa Jal has promised you the rizq. But you fear poverty because shaitan is putting that fear of poverty in you. That's not me saying. Allah is saying, shaitan is the one who's promising you that. Shaitan's the one whispering to you and saying that you're going to be poor. So be afraid of this poverty. Be in that constant state of anxiety over your wealth. But Allah Azza wa Jal, and through this He commands you to doing evil things. That's why everybody's out there making a haram income. That's why the banks, ya ikhwan, call centers selling loans and selling haram haram products are full of Muslims. They are. Ask the Muslims, young Muslim lads, where they work. Royal Bank of Scotland, HSBC, Vol. They work in these places. That's why, I don't know about Coventry, but I've heard that it's the same as Leicester, that our Muslim area, Highfields, our Muslim area, which is something like 90% Muslim, is the drug central also. The drug central also. And we personally know Muslim individuals from good families who sell Class A drugs. Ma'adallah, wallahi. Allah save us. And I know that it happens here too. Fearing poverty all the time. Shaytaan gets at you and gets at you and gets at you until you can't take the fear anymore. You know what? I'm going to do something that I don't ever have to fear again. Because I'm not happy just earning 800, 900, 1,000 pounds a month so I can pay my rent and pay my bills and get some food for my family and khalas. No, I need more than that. I need more than that because what if? Fearing from the shaitan. So he commands you to do evil things. And Allah Azza wa Jal, what does he say in response? Well, he promises you forgiveness. And fadl, virtue and blessings and goodness from himself. Tayyib. And then Allah says at the end beautifully, Wallahu wasi'un alim. And Allah is two things. Allah is wasi'. Wasi'. What does wasi' mean in the Arabic language? Vast. Allah is vast. In all senses, yani. In all senses. Allah is vast. Meaning, don't underestimate the treasures of Allah Azza wa Jal. In this regard I'm talking about. Why is Allah mentioning here that He's vast? Don't underestimate the treasures of Allah Azza wa Jal. It doesn't matter. Let the shaitan whisper to you and threaten you with poverty. Allah is wasi'. Allah is vast, vaster than all of that. You don't need to worry and commit evil things. You're working on the small scale. Allah is vast. Turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. Believe in Allah. Trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. And you will see maghfirah minhu. Forgiveness from Him. Wa fadla. And great blessing and virtue from Himself. You'll see it if you turn to Him. And you know that He's vast. His treasures are vast and they are endless, ya ikhwan. So the shaitan's whisperings on a person who knows this would be fruitless. But a person who is ignorant of this, then the shaitan can whisper to them. And Allah, secondly, is also alim, all-knowing. Meaning He knows what you get up to. He knows what you get up to. And He knows the channels through which your rizq will come to you. So fear not. The next thing which stands out is that, and this is probably the most common in this day and age of all of the deceptions of shaitan, and he is wallahi driving us apart with this, and that is, as it's famously known in Islam, that the shaitan and his army of the shayateen, they whisper and they come between people and they create circumstances and they give you thoughts in order to break up the Muslims apart, to separate two brothers, to separate husband and wife, to separate the Muslims in general, to separate the people. Prophet ﷺ, he said, Iblis, he goes and he places his throne on water. Yani, this is a sign of like kibriya, and it's a sign of grandeur. You know, if a king's throne is on water, it's a sign of grandeur. Yani. So Iblis, he goes and he places his throne on water, and then he dispatches groups and armies and individuals from his armies, from his shayateen. Okay, he dispatches them out into the dunya. And the best of them is, or in his eyes the best of them, is the one who has come back to him and said, I did so and so. So the shaitan, he says to him, you didn't do that much. And then the next one comes and says, I did something else. And he said, you didn't do that much. Until one of the shayateen, he comes and he says that I did not spare such and such a person until I sowed the seed of discord between a husband and a wife. And then Shaytaan, he comes close to this one of the shayateen, and he says to him, Iblis, he comes to him and comes close to him and he says that you have done well, my friend, and he embraces him. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Just imagine, ya ikhwan. This is an authentic narration, we cannot dispute it. We know that this is the way the Shaytaan, this is the way Iblis is working as we speak. He places his throne on water. And the shayateen, they report back that I've done this, O Master. And then, only the one that's done some great thing in their eyes gets a hug from Shaytaan. Not much of a reward, is it? But they get a hug from the Shaytaan. And they get told that you've done well. And what is that thing? What is that beloved thing to Shaytaan? That beloved, beautiful thing to Shaytaan that he loves to hear, that yes, you've done well, my son. It is that one of the shayateen comes back to him and he says, I did not stop until I sowed that seed of discord, problems, arguments, separation between husband and wife. Allah, wallahi, Allah protect us. Going back to the ayah which I mentioned at the start about the time of Sulaiman alayhi salatu salam, when the shayateen were teaching magic to the people, what did they teach? What kind of magic? What was the cream of the crop of the magic they taught? مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. نعم. That which will separate between husband and wife. That is the key, that is the best thing for them. That is the cream of the crop of magic. And this is the cream of the crop of their actions. And it is not only husband and wife. It is brothers, father and son, mother and child, brothers in the masjid, brothers in the da'wah organization. And wallahi ya ikhwan, I'm sorry to say this in the masjid of Allah Azza wa Jal, but you do not have to look far in the committees of the masajid. Our committees of our masajid, constant fitna, breakups, arguments over silly, stupid things. Constantly. And masajid crumble over it. Organizations of da'wah crumble over it. Why? Because everybody's listening to their mind and their heart. But you know that your mind and your heart is susceptible to the whisperings of Shaytaan. Why are you listening to that? Be logical, go back to the Quran and Sunnah, refer it to a shura, speak to the scholars, be sincere. Don't let the Shaytaan whisper to you and break you up, break you apart. Even those today, wallahi ya ikhwan, of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Salafiyun, they are splitting and breaking up over the most minor things. This individual, I saw him giving salam and speaking to this individual. And that individual praises such and such an individual. He's off. I'm not going to give salam to him now. And even if he repents, or you don't even know what his position is anymore, he's one of them. He's not with us. Where is the dalil for this? Which scholars of the Ahl Sunnah say this is permissible? Wallahi ya ikhwan, when you refer to the things which are said about these kind of issues by Shaykh al-Albani and some of the senior scholars, this is not the way to do things. Yes, we do not associate with the people of innovation, but there are rules, there are guidelines. And your brother who's from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who's one issue or one mistake, you can't overlook him, you can't go and advise him, you can't be patient with him, you can't make excuses for him. And even though it might be an issue that you don't even know yourself whether it fits into the principles yet of making tabdi' or considering him to be an innovator or a person from a deviated group, it doesn't even fit those principles. You probably don't even know if it fits those principles, but still you want to cut yourself off from him. Wallah, this is rife amongst the brothers. Shaytaan is having a field day with us, wallahi ya ikhwan. A field day. So we need to wise up to this. We are coming to the end. I apologize if I'm prolonging, but there are a few more things to mention, just to finish off. Firstly, looking over these 7 or 8 issues which we've mentioned from the typical, common deceptions of a shaitan, The last of them that I want to mention, and it's a more specific one, is that he has his ways and means of making us lazy, making us fall victim to laziness in our worship. And this is probably one of the reasons why when you come for Fajr Salah in the Masjid, there is a fraction of the people present in comparison to Dhuhr. And then in Dhuhr or Isha or Maghrib or whatever, there is a fraction of the people present compared to that in Jumu'ah. And even in Jumu'ah, surprisingly, there's a fraction of the people present as there is in Eid Salah, which is one that always baffles me because, I thought the last of them was the Jumu'ah Muslim. You know, the Jumu'ah Muslim, the one that prays on a Friday, doesn't pray the rest of the time. I thought that was the last. But now we have another category. They've gone one step further, the Eid Muslim. MashaAllah, he prays Salah on Eid day. That Salah, by the way, which the scholars, the Imams, we hold that it's wajib. But there's actually a debate about whether it's actually just a sunnah or it's wajib. But it's wajib, but there is a debate, there is a scholarly debate around this. And yet, that's the one that everybody has to pray. You have to be there. Wallahi, sometimes we wonder, is it just because they want to show off their new garments, their clothes, or because of the sweetmeats that they feed or something like that afterwards? Allah alam. But we can't question a person's niyyah. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he narrates a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, it's a famous hadith, everybody's heard it, that the Shaytaan, when a person is sleeping, he comes and he ties 3 knots at the back of a person's head, or another narration says on the neck of the sleeping Muslim. On every knot, he recites an incantation over it. What does he say? The night is long, so sleep well. The night is long, sleep well. The night is long, sleep well. He says it 3 times over this knot. See, magic, knots and recitations. When a person wakes up from this state, and if they think about Allah Azza wa Jal, when one wakes up and they remember Allah, then one knot becomes undone. That is a way of removing 1/3 of this spell, if you like, that the Shaytaan has put on you. That you wake up first and you can remember Allah Azza wa Jal. The second one is when a person drags themselves out of bed. Like one of the da'i, he said that, nowadays the Muslims are into all this, bodybuilding. Everyone's in the gym. 8 hours in the gym, 3 minutes in the masjid. So everybody spends, hours, pumping weight and this and that. You can lift, I don't know anything about the measurements, but you can lift X amount of kgs, but at Fajr time, you're so weak you can't even lift the covers. So Prophet ﷺ, he says that when one performs the wudu, when one gets out from the sleep, or from the bed, and he performs wudu, then the second knot becomes undone. And when one prays the salah, meaning the fajr, the subh, the salat subh, the morning salah, which is the fajr, then the third knot becomes undone, and he will get up in the morning feeling good and energized with a good heart in the morning. He will get up feeling good and energized with a good heart. And otherwise, if the person does not do this, then he will wake up with laziness in him, with a mischievous heart. And wallahi, ya ikhwan, let's be honest with ourselves, we're all men and boys, mashallah. We have all experienced this. Every Muslim has experienced this, even if it's by accident. Every Muslim has experienced this, unfortunately. May Allah save us and protect us from it. And how true, wallahi, are these words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How true. It is a proof. When you wake up, mashallah, out of bed, on time, salah in the masjid, don't you just feel good and the day goes well? But when you sleep in or you wake up late, and, what happened, man? Slept through my alarm. And then, you feel groggy the whole day. You feel bad, I think we've all experienced this. I don't need to explain, but how true, subhanAllah, the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So, ya ikhwan, salah, as-salah. The Shaytaan, he hated that you became a Muslim and that you stayed on your deen. He hated that you did X good deed and X good deed and X good deed. and salah being the pinnacle of the worship of a Muslim. And the first thing that a Muslim is going to be questioned about on Yawm al-Qiyamah, he hates that you perform this, and he is willing to whisper into your heart all kinds of arrogance and all kinds of doubts and all kinds of issues to stop you from performing that salah. Be wise to it, ya ikhwan, be wise to it. Allah Azza wa Jal says about all of these deceptions of Shaytaan, what does he say about them? يَعِدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. That he promises them and he blesses them. And the Shaytaan, he does not promise them anything except غُرُورًا, illusion. It's all illusion. غُرُورًا, yani something which is, yani it's an illusion, it's nothing real. Everything that the Shaytaan promises, it's all an illusion. Why? Because when you disbelieve on the whispers of Shaytaan, ya ikhwan, on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, when you say, he told me to do it. When you say, it's not me, this guy told me here, this guy told me to do it. Shaytaan will free himself from you. He'll say, not me, I believe in Allah. Not me, I believe in Allah, not me. That's what the Shaytaan will say on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And he will bear no responsibility for the evil that he calls you towards. He will share no responsibility in that with you. Nothing. And that which he promises you is an illusion. Because it is not lasting. It is not lasting. And wallahi ya ikhwan, I was not always a Muslim. And maybe I've experienced some of those things which the common everyday Muslim has not experienced in life. Some of the things which the people desire, maybe. Some of the things which the people desire. Some of the things which Shaytaan calls you to do and you think, should I? Seems kind of tempting. Maybe it tastes good. Maybe it feels good. She looks good. Whatever he's calling you towards. He's calling you towards something. And for those of us that have experienced it and lived that life, wallahi, well, we became Muslims, so that should show you how great it was. We gave it all up. Why? Because reality is ghurura. And wallahi, before I became a Muslim, this is one of those ayat which really affected me. When I read this, that the Shaytaan, everything that he's promising you, all the things he's luring you into and calling you towards, it's just illusion, and there's no reality to this. I was like, yeah, that's the case, because we've lived it and we've seen it, and it's so empty, ya ikhwan. It's so empty, and you only have to go and live it to see how empty it is. It's empty. It will not fulfill you. It will leave you depressed and empty, with a void in your heart and a void in your mind, thinking, what is this? Is this all it is? And if Allah has mercy on you, you become Muslim. And unfortunately, there are those who remain behind. So all of this, ya ikhwan, is a deception from Shaytaan, a deception from Shaytaan, and it is an illusion. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, rahimahullah ta'ala, he summarizes the ways in which, or the channels through which the Shaytaan can affect a person, so that we're clued up. He says, number one, extravagance, through extravagance. Right? Now, not just extravagance in, like, when I go to Tesco, I buy Coca-Cola, I don't buy Tesco's own brand. Not that kind of extravagance. Extravagance in all kinds of areas of your life. Extravagance in that which you believe in, and that which you surround yourself with, and that which you like to do with your life, and how you like to spend your time, and the people you like to be around. Always seeking desire, more, being extravagant. Number two, heedlessness. Heedlessness. Being heedless, not really bothered what Allah Azza wa Jalla says. Having that kind of attitude. How many Muslims, unfortunately, they don't even pick up the Quran in the language they can understand. You don't want to know what Allah's saying to you? And I'm not saying we can do it like that and we can take fatwa and we can make fatwa from it, but the Quran is Allah's speech to mankind. Read it and understand it. If you don't know Arabic, at least read in your own language so you know what's being said. Heedlessness. A person who doesn't think about Allah, doesn't think about the rulings of Allah, just remains heedless of it. This person it's a blank canvas for Shaytaan to come right all over. It's a blank canvas with no remembrance of Allah, with no mindfulness of the law of Allah on it, for the Shaytaan to come and just scribble all over. Number 3, affectation of that which does not concern oneself. That a person is constantly getting involved in things that don't concern him, arguments, disputes, issues, worrying about things that are not your responsibility, they don't concern you. The Shaytaan will have a field day with that individual. These are the 3 ways that Ibn al-Qayyim says that the Shaytaan affects a person. We will finish very soon. Just the last couple of things. There's a story which is known from the hadith. Well, I will mention its sanad, and I'll just read it in English very quickly. And this is an example of the way that Shaytaan can affect the human beings and the way that he can trick even the best of human beings. Nobody's safe, ya ikhwan. The story is narrated by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anh. It has been reported by Ibn Jarir, who said, I was told by Khalad ibn Aslam on the authority of An-Nadr, after Shu'bah, after Abu Ishaq, after Abdullah ibn Nahik, saying, I heard Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an saying, a monk worshipped Allah alone for 60 years. With Tawheed, the monk who worshipped God, worshipped Allah for 60 years. Now this is a monk. Now we don't have monks in Islam, but the equivalent of a zahid, an abid, even the most pious and knowledgeable worshipper, he is not safe. A monk worshipped Allah alone for 60 years. Shaytaan exerted himself to seduce him, but he could not. So he went to a woman and he touched her with some evil. Meaning, he went to a woman and he touched her in such a way that it would turn her insane and mad. Okay, it gave her madness. The woman, she had some brothers who were visited by Shaytaan, who told them to take her to that monk to receive treatment and for a cure. Sound familiar? Because these things happen, right? And then you've got to pay the pir sahib, and then he does some jadu badu all on you, and then, next thing you know, you're a murid and you set up your direct debit. So Shaytaan, he told them that take your sister to this particular monk, and he will recite on her and he will treat her. They took her to the monk and he treated her, and afterwards she stayed for some time in the place where he was staying. She had to stay around there so that the monk could regularly treat her in the same vicinity. One day the Shaytaan whispered to him and he fell attracted to her. He felt some attraction to her. And one thing went to another, and he ended up committing adultery with her, committing fornication with her. And she got pregnant. She fell pregnant. And so he killed her so that he could conceal his crime. The monk, he killed her so that he could conceal his crime. Her brothers came, and the Shaytaan, he appeared again to the monk, and he said to him that I am your friend, and I did not find this solution for you in order to mislead you, but I set you up. I set you up. So obey me, and I will now save you from this situation, because the brothers had come to deal with him. Understand? So now the Shaytaan is saying that if you obey me, then I will save you from the situation. He said, prostrate before me, make sujood before me, and I will save you. The monk then did so. The monk made sujood to the Shaytaan, and the Shaytaan then said, I am free of you. I fear Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the jinn, and all that exists, which I believe is from Surah Al-Hashr. That's a translation of the ayah from Surah Al-Hashr. So, first you've got a monk, a worshipper. Through one open door of that lady being brought, and the Shaytaan saw all this in advance. He doesn't want that monk to carry on worshipping Allah with tawheed. It's too much of a good deed. He doesn't want that to happen. So he goes over here and he gets a woman, and he makes her insane. And then he whispers to the brothers that take her to that monk. And then the brothers bring her to that monk. And then the monk, he's treating her. And then, because the woman is around, he whispers to the monk, "No, she's a bit attractive. Why don't you get attracted to her?" And then he whispers more. And then the monk, he falls into fornication. And then he whispers to him, "You are going to be seen as a great criminal if people find out that you've had relations with this lady and she's now pregnant." So he kills her. Now he's committed murder. First was fornication, now murder. And thereafter, when the brothers come, Shaytaan says to him that all you have to do now is to commit shirk with me, which is ultimately what Shaytaan wants, doesn't he? Ultimately, Shaytaan, he wants you to commit shirk. Yeah, he's happy if you miss salah and all the other things along the way. But ultimately, ya ikhwan, he wants you to commit shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal. And so he makes him commit shirk. But when he does so, he doesn't save him. What does he say? "I'm free from you. Nothing to do with me." Remember, illa ghurura. It's just deception. It's just an illusion. Finally, to finish off, ya ikhwan, how do we protect ourselves from the Shaytaan? What measures can we take to protect ourselves day to day and generally in our lives? There are many things, too many to mention. So we should all go and look into this. One book that I recommend is Hisnul Muslim, the small little dua book called Fortress of a Muslim. It's available in pretty much all languages. It's an Arabic book. Small book just with du'as in it, but they're all sahih. They're all referenced and they're all sahih. And there's du'as in there for all types of situations. طيب. Being upon reciting those regularly throughout the day in all situations is one of the best ways that a person can be constantly in the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, performing the sunnah and protecting oneself from Shaytaan. That is one of the best ways. And that book's very helpful because it's small, you can carry it around. And there are even some du'as in there for protection from specifically Shaytaan related things like sihr, etc., magic. However, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions 10. And we'll finish with this, bi'idhnillah. He mentions 10 ways that a person can protect themselves from the Shaytaan. First thing he says is to seek refuge with Allah from Shaytaan. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Seek refuge. When you recite the Quran, yes, we do so before we recite the Quran. طيب? But generally, if a person feels that they're getting some desire towards something evil, say this and see the effect. Get into saying it and say it with belief. Don't just say it like, "I don't know Arabic, so it's just anything to me." No, you know what it means. A'udhu billah. I seek refuge with Allah. Minash shaytanir rajim. From the accursed Shaytaan. Say it with that meaning. Say it thinking that I am actually, by saying this, asking Allah to protect me from this evil thought or whispering that I can feel. I'm getting the desire to do something. Maybe it's from Shaytaan, Allah a'lam. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. This is the first of the advices of Ibn Qayyim in protecting oneself from the Shaytaan. Secondly, he says the recitation of the two surahs, Al-Falaq and An-Nas. طيب, as they have a wondrous effect in seeking refuge with Allah from evil, weakening the Shaytaan and protection from him. Recite them, just generally recite them. The Prophet ﷺ, there are narrations which are sahih, that he used to recite them at night before sleeping. It's a sunnah, do it. And they can be recited at other times also. Third, recitation of Ayatul Kursi. Ayah al-Kursi. I'm sure everybody's memorized Ayatul Kursi. It is, according to one hadith, the most powerful ayah in the Quran. According to a Sahih hadith, it is the most powerful ayah in the Quran. Fourthly, the recitation of Surah Al-Baqarah. For the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that that house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited, then it cannot be approached by a shaitan. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim. The house that you recite Surah Al-Baqarah in, the shaitan cannot approach it, and you want to put those noughts and crosses above the doors? Khalas, just recite Surah Al-Baqarah every now and again. Not every day, yani. Recite it as much as you can, here and there. If you can't recite it, tell your wife, tell your kids. Generally, recite it, yani. Shaitan can't come. Imagine what that would save us from, ya ikhwan, in terms of fitna in our homes. Struggling to make the kids pray salah and the like. We have the answers, wallahi. This is why it's so sad. We have the answers in the sunnah, yet we turn to those things which are not from the sunnah. Fifthly, I think we're on number 5, the final part of Surah Baqarah. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he said that whoever recites the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, and they will suffice him. Okay, the hadith is also in Muslim. Some of the scholars, they've said in sharh of this hadith that this sufficiency means sufficiency throughout the night, protection from shaitan throughout the night. So if at night the last 2 ayahs of Al-Baqarah, if you can recite them, then these will suffice a person for protection from the shaitan throughout the night. Next, recitation of the beginning of Surah Mu'min, the beginning part, until وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرِ. Until there, if a person recites this, again, this is another means of protection from a shaitan. Again, there's nothing in the sunnah to say it was recited this time, this day, this, as far as I'm aware, Allah alam, but generally to recite it. Next, saying La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. This, to say this. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he says that the saying of this is a protection from the shaitan. It's a sunnah to say after salah, after the fard salah. It's a sunnah to say after the fard salah anyway. So that would be good. We can start with that. He says that next, that the most beneficial form of the protection from shaitan is abundance of remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. Just to remember Allah often. Okay, both internally and physically with the lips. Okay, if a person is mentally conscious of Allah and the rules of Allah constantly, if you train your mind to think like that, where throughout the day Allah is kind of always on your mind. You might be working, you might be doing, but Allah is always on your mind. Then the shaitan will find it a lot more difficult to come in and whisper things to you. طيب? And if a person's tongue remains wet with it, then the shaitan will find it difficult to come close to you. Next, Ibn Qayyim, he says, ablution and prayer, wudu and prayer, they are from amongst the greatest means of protection, especially at the time of the emergence of anger and desire. Okay, if you feel angry or you feel desirous of something, not just angry. Most people know that from the sunnah it is the case that if a person gets angry, then to perform wudu is one of the means of cooling it. But at the time of desire, when you feel that you're desiring something that you know you shouldn't be doing, make wudu, perform 2 raka'at, see the effects. We feel lazy to do these things, ya ikhwan, but if we just break that mode and do it once, twice, and we get into the habit, inshallah ta'ala, we'll see the results and we'll have more fervor next time. Allah will make that path easy for us. Allah will make that path easy for us, bi'idhnillah. So when a person's angry or desirous of something, to make wudu, to perform salah. And lastly, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that one of the great forms of protecting oneself from the shaitan and his whisperings and deceptions is abstinence from excess in speech, food, and mixing with people. Okay? Being abstinent in speaking too much, eating too much, and mixing with people too much. Now, these are things which are known from the sunnah anyway. We know that it is not an Islamic thing to do to eat too much. We know that. There are many hadith about this. Now's not the time. speaking too much. We know the tongue and its dangers, the hadith about that we've all heard. The dangers of the tongue. When a person speaks too much, then they're liable. I should take my own advice. It's what time? 2:15. SubhanAllah. A person that speaks too much is liable to slip up and hurt somebody with their tongue, say something wrong, etc., etc. Shaytaan can come to the person that speaks too much and make them say all sorts of things, and mixing with the people too much. Being always out there and about there, always getting involved around and this and that. You end up being part of fitna. Keep to yourself, family, friends, the brothers, the scholars, your teachers, whatever, the masjid, but constantly going around markets and meeting people and here and there. A person is more liable to be tricked by shaitan in a different circumstance and situation. So those are the 10 advices of Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala in protecting oneself from the shaitan. As I said, there's many, many more things. You can refer to other books and the scholars about this. And lastly, I would just say that let us not be tricked, ya ikhwan, and let us remember one thing always, that the shaitan, his method of tricking the people is to make people see things differently, as something that they're not. So you might be tricked into thinking that, for example, this girl that I'm talking to, I'm not doing anything with her. I'm just talking to her. So, it's all right. Shaitan's got you there, making you think, no, it's all right, it's something else. Don't worry, it's not fornication. But it's haram. A situation between the brothers. Shaitan's made you see that individual in a certain light by whispering thoughts into your mind and your heart. Now you see it like, yeah, he is like this, or he did do that. Understand? So don't always fall for the way things appear at first glance. Be fair, return it to the Quran and Sunnah, and think before making these hasty decisions. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal, He protects us from shaitan, and He gives us the understanding and the insight to be able to see things as they truly are and not as they always appear to be. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make us from those who are not the ones who are tricked by shaitan, and those that remain upon the Quran and Sunnah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.